Hey guys, Mick here with our workout for today. I'm joined by the lovely Amy, who is super excited to get into this workout for today. The workout we're going to do today is a strength-based workout, and as much as we can, we're clearly trying to minimize the amount of equipment we use. So this is a very body weight dominated workout. And we are trying to overload by using extra range of motion or slowing down the tempo to really get the most out of this workout. And we've got a couple of pairs of exercises which I'll get Amy to go through in a moment. But before we do that, of course, we want to just get a bit of a warm up and start moving the body. So the first movement we're going to do with Amy is just a light step back, a little tucking underneath of the hips, and then a stretch over the head with the arms. And you can feel free to sort of explore your range of motion there. So it's not a lunge, it's a soft step back, take the arms overhead and just explore that range of motion overhead. You might feel a little bit of a creak or a crack here, so just go easy with it and just find that position that feels quite nice and maybe hold it for a split second or so. So just trying to open up the entire length of the body here. The first movement we will do, so I encourage you to do as much as you need here. If you need to put the video on pause, by all means, but we're just doing 2 each side just to get ready for today's session. So the first movement we're going to do is a reverse lunge with a rotation. So we get Amy to start working through this movement. We're going to alternate sides. We're going to do 6 each leg. The reason we're going to include the rotation in this exercise, there's 2 reasons. One is to increase the time under tension. So as Amy's sitting into that bottom position and she's doing the rotation into the lunge pattern, she's holding that bottom position a little bit longer than normal. The other thing we're doing in including some rotation into this exercise is to train a pattern that we don't always traditionally train, which is rotation, or in fitness terminology, it's called the transverse plane. So we want to include a little bit of that as well in today's session. The second exercise we're going to do in a moment, which when Amy completes her 6 each side, is from the ground, and it's the all-time famous push-up. But we are going to tweak this one a little bit. So Amy, just relax there. I'll get you to relax, have a breather. Now we know not everyone can perform a off the toes, full body, nice and controlled push-up. So we're going to just modify this one a little bit. And what we're going to modify is the focus of this movement. We're just going to focus on the lowering portion of the exercise. So Amy, let's get you into position. Good, she's got a nice plank type position there. We're just going to get her to lower into the push-up position. Now from there, I'm going to ask her to keep her knees on the ground, push her upper body up, start back at the top of the position, and then perform the eccentric or the lowering section of this push-up. So you can see we've made the concentric or the pressing part of this movement a little bit easier, but we're overloading in the eccentric portion of the movement or the lowering portion. Guys, if you're out there and you feel really super comfortable off the toes and you can go from the ground up, by all means include that in your workout. But for those that aren't quite there yet, we're just trying to provide a modified version here. You can use that same philosophy with chin-ups, which we might talk about a little bit later. So Amy returns to our first exercise in this pair, and that's the reverse lunge rotation over the front leg. Some of you might be tempted to rotate inwards or towards the midline. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, but you find most people when they go into a lunge pattern, their knee collapses inwards. So to encourage the knee staying in line with the toes, we're going to rotate over that front leg. Once again, 6 reps each side. You might have access to some sort of load at home as well, which you can absolutely include in this pattern. So again, we're going back down into that push-up position, focusing on the lowering portion of this movement. As I mentioned a bit earlier, a lot of people use this technique in chin-ups. So if you can't quite perform the full concentric or lifting part of the chin-up, this is a really nice way to overload that pattern and try to build strength into that concentric part. So the lowering the eccentric part of a chin-up or in a push-up in this case. And here's our last set here. So we're going to do 3 sets of each, 6 reps on each leg and 6 reps in the lowering portion of the push-up. And I've got a funny feeling Amy's done a few workouts today, but we're going to see how she goes off the toes in the concentric portion of that push-up as well, because we think she's got 6 in her without any troubles. Now, if you do need to have a break through these workouts, the break in between the pairings is probably the moment to do that. We're going to keep flowing for you guys because we want to keep you moving, but that's the time to probably grab your drink or have a quick breather between the pairings. So here we go. Amy's down, but she's staying on the toes in the concentric or the lifting part of this movement. Body's in a really nice straight line. She's maintaining just that nice lumbar curve in her lower back. Head's in a strong position, and she's performing really well there, guys. She's doing a great effort. Great, so that's the end of that pairing. As I said, if you need to grab a drink, now's your time. Great. Good drink break there for Amy. Good timing. So our next pairing of exercises. This one has become a little bit popular in recent times, particularly because a lot of people are training the glute area and that area around the hips. And this is called a frog pump. So you'll notice that Amy's basically fed her feet together, so the soles of her feet together, and she's allowed the knees to splay open. And she's performing that hip extension movement, which has become quite popular, as I mentioned a bit earlier. We're going to work through 12 reps here. The range of motion is quite short, so if you're not doing enough reps, the time and attention just won't be long enough. Some people can do up to 20, 30 reps of this one, but for today we'll start with 12. And I will show you a couple of techniques to also introduce the upper body into this movement. We're going to get through those 12 reps, and the second movement we're going to do, it's a slightly tricky one. Some of you would have seen this before. It's called a prone Superman. So there's a couple of variations, and the first variation we might do is just the simplest version. So Amy's created a nice strong platform for her entire body there. And I'm just going to ask her to lift her left leg off the ground only. And she's maintained that nice tabletop position. Now let's go right leg. Beautiful. So we're only going to do 3 reps each side. So in a gym environment, at times we might place like a light plate on the lumbar spine just to give the participants some feedback on what their hips and lower back are doing. But she's doing a really good job of keeping stable in that position. So just 3 reps each side, but we're going to tweak that one a little bit as we move forward. So the way we're going to introduce the upper body into this movement is I'm going to get Amy to drive her elbows into the ground and create little fists. So there's a little bit of tension in the upper body now. And we continue on with that hip extension movement. As I said, this exercise can be difficult to overload with load as such. So normally we would overload this with a higher rep count. So if that's you and you do need more reps, you may need to just press pause and work your way through those repetitions. And you'll see she's creating, even though it's not as obvious as a normal hip extension, she's creating that nice line from her feet, the knees, the hips and the shoulder. Now, our second version here is going to introduce the upper body, so slightly more challenging. So we've created a strong base, and what we're going to do is we're going to ask Amy to extend her right hand. Beautiful, and we take that down. Extend the left hand. Really nice. Okay, just hold it there for a sec, Amy. So we're going to ask her to hold that end position for 5 seconds now. So let's go right hand. 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. And let's repeat on the left side. 3, 2, 1. And one more each side now. Good. And she's keeping really stable through the hips and torso. She's trying... Guys, she's making this look easy. It's a really difficult exercise. She's giving us the shake of her head there. Okay, and we're relaxed there. That's our 3 each side. And our final set here of the frog pumps. Elbows drawing into the ground, fists created just to build some tension in the torso and the upper body. And she's working through that hip range of motion. So as I said a little bit earlier, the range of motion is less on this movement than a normal hip extension. So extra reps can be useful. But still that concept of a straight line from shoulder, hip to knee at the top of the movement is what we're after. And you will feel this starting to tingle and fire up in the glute area. Okay, so before Amy sets up for this last movement, we might just give her a little breather because this is the Mac Daddy of Supermans. So it's into the top of that push-up position. So wrists underneath the shoulders, feet about hip width, just to give her a nice base of support. And we're going to aim for opposite leg, opposite arm. So we'll go right arm, right leg, left arm. Wow, awesome job. Let's try the other side. Guys, Amy is making this look way easier than it is. This is brutally hard. She's doing a great job. Excellent. Whoa. And let's set up. Yep, she's starting to fatigue. This is really difficult. She's doing a great job here. She's making this look too easy. and relax there. Whew. Okay, so once again, if you did need a breather, although those two movements weren't too intense, this would be the moment to go and grab a drink, have a towel off, and away we go. The next two movements are a little bit unique, a little bit different, and some of them you may not be familiar with. And the first movement we're going to do is a Renegade row. Now, most of you will be familiar with the Renegade row, and you might be thinking, how the hell are you going to do that without any equipment or without any load? We're going to use a concept that those that are familiar with strength training might use, and it's called irradiation. And irradiation means creating tension through the entire body. So what that would mean is setting Amy up in this position and asking her to create tension through the feet digging into the ground, through the calves, through the quads, through the glutes, the torso, and even the upper body. And then I'm going to ask her to perform a Renegade row pattern with one side and really squeeze her fist and her upper arm tightly just to create full tension through her entire body. Guys, it's really difficult to train rowing in pulley patterns without equipment, but we're trying to simulate that some way with just using body weight. And we're only going to do 3 each side here. This is a tricky movement and a tricky concept to grasp. That full body tension can be really difficult. Okay. So one of Amy's favourite exercises, that's probably a lie, it's more likely my favourite, and it's called a Thoracic Bridge. Now, we've been in this pressing position a fair amount today in this session, so we're just going to try to open up that part of our body. So we're going to get Amy to bring her knees just a little bit more underneath her hips. Beautiful. Wrists underneath the shoulders. Now, we're going to release the right hand and the left foot, shoot that left foot through, extend the hips, reach across the body. And that looks really good. We're going to repeat that on the other side. So a really nice way to open up through the hips and the torso as well. That reach across the body. You're going to feel a nice stretch even on that hand that's planted. We're going to open up through the chest there. And your feet should land about shoulder width apart. Beautiful. And we're only going to do 3 reps of this one each side. And again, that one, she made that one look way easier than it is. That's a difficult movement. So we'll let Amy gather her breath for a second and just think about this building of tension through the entire body. As I said, you can even start by digging the feet into the ground and then contracting the muscles all the way through up to the torso. So Amy's digging the heels in, she's contracting the calves, the glutes, the quads, even creating some tension in the torso. And then as she's pulling back, she's creating a fist and creating tension in the forearm and the upper arm as well. And we're doing our best to try to create some tension in a pulling pattern without any equipment. Now, you might not be able to see this, but I am seeing just a couple of drips of sweat there. So proof that the workout is being somewhat effective, which is great to see. Back into her favourite exercise now, the Thoracic Bridge. Good. And as she kicks through, the wrist should be sitting underneath the shoulder, which it is here, which is great. And you may need to reset after every repetition. So as you come back in, you might need to just reset the knees underneath the hips and just be aware of the body position, particularly in the upper body as well. Once again, just 3 repetitions each side. Really nice, really nice. Okay. So guys, this is our last set of our last pairing of exercises for this workout. So Amy's pretty happy right about now. And again, we're just building tension. Once again, it's called creating irradiation or tension through the entire body. And it's a useful technique when you are lifting heavy. When you do get back into the gym, if you're doing maximal lifts, it's the kind of tension you want to create when you're lifting heavy weights. Awesome. Whew. Okay, it's official. We do have some more drops of sweat as well. So, guys, we're almost there. This is our last set in this workout. And then we're going to hit the cool down. We're extending the hips, reaching across the body. Beautiful. And when those feet do plant, they should generally plant maybe a little bit wider than hip width apart. Reach. And you can even vary what position you reach to. I'm asking Amy to reach across the body. You can go over the body as well. Whew. So you may want to grab a drink, just maybe grab a towel, wipe off a little bit. because this is our last movement, so our final stretch for this workout. And it's called thread the needle. Some of you may be familiar with this. If you're a yogi, if you get into any yoga classes, it's a popular stretch that a lot of instructors include in their programming. So we're going to ask Amy to open up with the right hand. So she's stacking shoulder on shoulder, and then with that right hand, she's going to reach between the gap of the left knee and the left hand, and she's going to relax her torso down towards the ground. Now, once again, this is a movement or a stretch that you can literally just sit into and hold for as long as you feel comfortable. You can sit here for a minute or two if you really feel like it. Just in terms of keeping you guys sane while you're watching this on video, we'll speed it up a little bit. So we'll go to the other side, we'll stack the left shoulder over the top of the right, and then we'll feed that through the gap, left shoulder towards the ground. And even you can let that head relax onto the ground as well. Those that have the range of motion, you can even sit your hips down into a little bit of this pattern as well. So you can sit the hips down while you're reaching through. So we're going to ask Amy to do one more each of those because we have done a lot of work in this position. We want her to feel nice and stretched and mobile in that when we finish this workout. So this would be the moment when you would ordinarily give yourself or give your colleague or your training partner a high five. But we definitely won't be doing that today, unfortunately. But how about we give each other a bit of a virtual high five, maybe in the comments or the notes. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed that workout. Full body workout, no equipment. You can do it anywhere you like. As long as you've got 20 minutes, you're ready to rumble. Guys, if you've got a gym, if you've got a home, you've got a gym. So feel free to include some notes in the comments and share your experiences as well. Thanks.